AM 1220, KHTS, I am T, and you're listening to Dr. Proctor. This is an opportunity we bring you every first and third Thursday of the month to get an opportunity to kind of peek over the shoulders of the medical community and support staff, doctors and nurses and various other aspects of medicine for a number of reasons. One, to kind of demystify the conversations that we can be having with our doctors, to kind of boil things down for our own best health. As America is aging, we do have they're calling the silver tsunami coming, and we've talked a little bit today about some physical therapy issues. And what's interesting is within a large aging population that is going to be impacting hospitals, clinics, urgent care. We also are seeing more and more, as we've spoken with Tom Burton here today, physical therapist of 27 years. He's the orthopedic program manager over at Providence Holy Cross in Mission Hills. We've been talking about how a lot of the technology issues are now causing problems with an even younger generation who are doing things that the rest of us didn't really start doing until we were older. Welcome again, Tom Burton, to Dr. Proctor. I do like the idea that we are a technologically advanced society. It's phenomenal what a lot of us have seen in our lifetimes, but it's also causing some issues. And you were saying before the break that you're seeing more and more younger patients with some of the issues that you've been seeing in your 27 years of practice in older patients. So in addition to sports injuries, tell me again a little bit about some of the things you're seeing with the technological strains that the body is taking a hit.
Yeah, and appreciate you bringing this up too. The technology, it's fantastic, and we're required to do it. We have to use our computers. We are always on our phones. In a lot of cases, we don't have a choice. And the position for sitting, specifically, we sit all the time. We sit day in and day out. If we're not sitting, then we lie down in bed. That we are kind of becoming a little bit more of a static type of a culture. That's leading to a lot of shortening of tissues, and we're finding people with bad backs at younger ages. We're finding people with tighter muscles, leading to injuries if they do start to participate in activities and exercises, neck problems, shoulder problems, a lot more issues with fingers, carpal tunnel, you name it. It's repetitive. It's repetitive trauma disorder, and it can occur from the parts that are moving, and it can occur from the parts that are shortening that are having their effect on other things.
You've seen those images, the drawings where it's the early man and he's hunched over and then eventually he's standing upright. Do you believe that the next wave of images is going to be us right back curled over down on
we're
all
given
fours?
Into gravity.
We're given into gravity.
Well, they're doing it somewhere. I saw it on National Geographic or something where people are actually going back to walking on their hands and feet.
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, I wanted to talk a bit about, first of all, the phenomenal jobs that you guys do with physical therapy when we do come to you with issues. And now, as again, in addition to sports injuries or knee issues, do they still use the phrase bursitis? Is that
sure.
okay?
Oh, sure.
I always feel like, is that antiquated? Do we not use that now?
It's no. It's a bursitis exists. It's a bursa. It exists.
Is that
we still
inflammation?
have that. Bursa itself is just a fluid. It's a sac that usually is there to protect a tissue from rubbing over bone. So we see them a lot in the hips. We see them in the knees, the shoulders, and if it becomes inflamed, you throw the itis on the end of it. So it's just inflammation of a bursa, and so that can occur very easily. It can happen sometimes as simple as just laying on your side, where if the bone is pressing just correctly on a hard surface, you can actually cause yourself to have bursitis.
That's why I don't camp, Tom.
Exactly.
That's not happening. I'm not getting bursitis.
There's
not happening.
9,000 other reasons not to camp.
Okay, so I want to talk a bit too. I worry all the time about what I call the weekend warrior. We are bombarded with imagery in the media where they're constantly telling us that we need to lose weight and we need to be thinner. I read the best thing the other day. It said, you know how to get a bikini body? Put a body in a bikini. And that's how you do that. Just to kind of accept and love the body we're giving. But we see this over and over where you need to be out. You need to be going to this exercise class. And I worry about the person who gets up one day and with whether it's bikini season or the New Year's resolution and says, that's it, I'm going full bore, I'm doing this. and then they get hurt.
Right.
What are some good ways, because I know you see those people come in, what are some good ways that we can prevent that? And also tell me, what do you do as the physical therapist when it's too late, they've come in and they're getting hurt? What kind of treatment would they receive?
Sure. Well, I think the first part of it is you're 100% right. Is you have to enjoy yourself. One, two is you don't have to go to and this isn't to take business away from gyms or from exercise classes.
No,
but
we like them.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they play a part for everybody. But it's not necessary. We need to just we need to be active. We need to be doing things. The 10,000 steps. So you can get your Fitbit.
And you can do that on your phone. If you just carry your phone with you, it counts it for you.
Exactly, and you don't have to join someplace. What we want to do is
be active.
Just get up on your feet. Move around, fight gravity. It's not necessary. You don't have to be running, you don't have to be skiing, but do things that you enjoy, things you're going to stick to, because it's so funny, they talk about the word diet has the word die in it, which means short-lived. And so the success comes from a live it, and where you're making life changes, and that those life changes take a while. There's diet changes that need to be, but it's not the crash course diet, because eventually when you finally reach your goal, you're going to stop. And then that creates that roller coaster.
And you need to have a lifestyle and a way of eating that's going to keep you healthy, not the yo-yo dieting. We've heard that before. So if someone comes to you, the weekend warrior, and says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get in shape for bathing suit season, what are the most common injuries that you see from that?
We see an awful lot, again, back injuries. Plantar fasciitis seems to be a really good one, because people start getting back up on their feet again when they're not used to it. They go out and they buy their $120 beautiful shoes that offer really zero support. They don't stretch beforehand. They don't stretch afterwards.
You hear a lot of that. That stretching that's a tough one, but it's so easy to do if you do it.
It is, and it's not something where you have to take 30 or 40 minutes aside to do it. You can knock out major muscle groups in about 5 minutes, and it doesn't have to be 30-second holds, static holds. Dynamic stretching is something that's becoming more and more available and more practiced. I've been using it with my tennis players when I'm covering events, and our swimmers on a pretty regular basis as a way of warming somebody up, and also a way of warming somebody down, getting
That's critically important also?
In fact, some will actually say it's more important for the stretching and the cool down than it is actually the stretching and the warm up. And because you physiologically, when you start using your muscles, you start building up metabolic waste, and that waste will stay in the muscle tissue. And so that, unless you can actually cool yourself down and allow the muscle to pump out that metabolic waste and stretch and create length to muscle groups, that metabolic waste stays there and creates an irritation. So it'd be the person who decides that here's our first day, it's 90-something degrees outside. It's our first hint that we're going to be in a bathing suit relatively soon. And so we look in the mirror. We're not quite happy, so we join the gym. And we go back to the workout that we did back when we were successful, when we were meeting the goals that we expected to be able to hit. And that next morning and the mornings afterwards, you can't move. That delayed onset muscle soreness, part of that is because of that metabolic crap that builds up. And we can get that out through stretching and through your cool down. And if you can do that, then your recovery is a little easier. You create length back into the tissues, as opposed to that sensation after a really good workout. You actually have a hard time moving your legs and have a hard time moving your arms, because the muscles are so full that the tissue will actually shorten. And so we need to give that length back.
And you can get that back.
Yes, absolutely. In time. It doesn't come back all
Not
at
overnight.
once. Just everything should be done again. Moderation. We talked about earlier. It's just, small amounts, small gains, set very reachable, attainable, short goals, and you'll find that you're going to meet those. If you put too lofty of a goal and you don't meet it, that leads to depression, and most people will usually quit.
And you give
they
up.
shouldn't have to. Right. Or you want to be able to achieve success in small little bites.
And that exercise is one of the things to combat depression. So it's almost, you have to get in the mindset of, I can't allow myself to let that defeat me. If I take it slowly, ultimately it's the best thing you can do, even for your mental and emotional health.
And pick things you enjoy, because if you don't like the exercises you're doing,
you're not going to do it.
You're going to look for every reason not to. But if there are things that you truly enjoy, whatever it might be, you're going to be be very successful with it because you're going to be motivated to continue doing it because it's fun.
Now, plantar fasciitis, you talked about how that's one of the common things you see. Someone comes to you, they're complaining about that. What's the first complaint? What's the actual words out of their mouth?
My heel hurts.
My heel hurts.
Yes, and every time I step on it, especially in the morning, I have pain in my heel. I found that it would go away when I got up and started walking, but now it's not going away. It's sore all the time.
So as a physical therapist, what would be one of the first things you get the patient doing?
We have a golden standard in treating is we need to make sure that they're stretching. They need to stretch not only the tissue itself, but they need to stretch their calf muscles because there's a reason why the plantar fascia.
It's that connection again.
Exactly, it's that connective chain, and that if the ankle can't move, then the foot has to move more or the knee has to move more, and chances are you're going to create additional stresses. And stress is usually greatest where the tissue inserts into the bone. In the case of plantar fascia, it's right at the heel.
And it kind of becomes a domino effect, doesn't it? If the heel is hurting them, and you were talking about before favoring, like that big toe story. Tell me again, it's the big toe headache connection.
Big toe can cause a headache, yeah. So they'll change the way they walk. That changes the stresses being placed on the joints above and below, causing small muscles to do the work of big muscles. Can lead to shortening of tissues, can lead to a change in your balance structure, which changes postures, and somewhere down the line, eventually it can affect all the way up into the neck and into the head.
And this is also as the population is aging, when balance becomes an issue, and now you're not strong enough to carry, your body because you're favoring. So before things get out of control, before we're a complete train wreck, the idea to come to a physical therapist and say, help me help myself before I need hip replacement, knee replacement. You are kind of the knight on the white horse, because you can help save some really terrible problems down the road, can't you?
You've been looking into my backyard. I actually do right. No, I don't write it. No, we actually
There's
can.
An apple for your horse.
It's the same thing as, if you have a squeak in your car, nobody seems to hesitate to go get that taken care of.
Right?
If you're driving on the freeway, you feel the steering wheel pull, you realize the car is probably a little out of alignment. If you continue driving it that way, you're going to have uneven wear on your tires, uneven wear on your brakes, changes in your suspension.
A lot of money.
And fuel, your gas mileage is going to go down.
Yeah.
So when you look at all of these things that can go awry just because the alignment's a little off. And
we're no different.
We're no different. But we can compensate. We have the ability to adapt.
And we ignore.
But we ignore because it'll eventually go away. So.
Okay, so we know that we can come to you to stop a slew of problems down the road. We know that we have the right now to be able to come to see you. We don't have to wait because of that direct access. We no longer have to wait to see our primary physician or, the other doctors that would give us that prescription to go to physical therapy. We have all the tools to make us better as a whole person. What is, in addition to, you had said, just getting moving, just get moving. Besides that, because I think we've all heard the park your car further away when you go shopping. Oh, go around the block, take the stairs, erpy-der. Well, sometimes that's not going to happen. And I get the idea of doing an exercise that you like, and doing just walking sometimes is really good. What if you have someone who says, you know what, I want to do those things, I want to. What are some of the easiest activities physically for someone to get involved with, either socially, because I feel sometimes that's also a great motivator to get someone to be physical. Just do it with other people. What are some of the top activities that you would say, because for example, I love yoga. I feel so much better after I do it, just 100% better than if I don't. What are some of the activities you would say, if someone's never done anything, maybe consider this?
I love the idea of the pool. I think it's a great place to start. One is if you're chest high in water, you're 80% lighter, so you're putting less stress on the joints. And you're putting less stress on joints that may not be used to having stress. And again, you go into a full weight-bearing type of an exercise. If you're not used to doing that, that additional stress can be, I don't want to say damaging, but irritating. But a pool is a great place to start. You're going to use your muscles. You're not going to cause too much pressure on the joints themselves. It's an upright piece, so you are weight bearing, which is great for bone health and the such. And it's a great start to move into something else, because when you realize that you're having success with that, the pool exercise programs, there's pool volleyball at some of the local gyms and the such.
And we have a lot of local community areas where you can go to pools. Certainly, for example, here in the Santa Clarita Valley, you can go online and look at parks and recreations to find the pools. What if someone gets in and it's like, okay, I don't really know about swimming with all these strangers and I'm very self-conscious. What about just getting in the pool and maybe walking around, just walking the perimeter? Would that be a good beginning to get the body active and moving?
Absolutely. You work from a deeper, maybe just put a noodle around you where you just hang on and you just bicycle slowly in the deep end.
Or like a kickboard.
Or you can do a kickboard. You can do walking as you get into shallower water. The more body weight you have to carry, that becomes a nice way of doing things. And if it's not too deep, you can do little squats. You can do little lunges. You can do arm movements to try to create range of motion. Yeah, it's just move and let the water, use the water as resistance. It's a nice resistance. It's comfortable. It's going to be, again, 90-something degrees over the weekend.
Yeah, we're looking at triple digits. And here in the Santa Clarita Valley, boy, when summer comes, when Mother Nature decides to bring that heat, she moves in and she's like a bad house guest. She's not going away. June, July, August, September, October, right on through to the end of the month of October, and sometimes even into November. We have beautiful weather. The pool is a really great way to start. And walking, more and more we're seeing trails in nice places. Would that be?
Oh, of course. You just have to be careful and just know the trails. Now, one of the things I also say is that you need to watch your surfaces, because there's a balance-related issue that you need to kind of build yourself
Pebbles,
up to
rocks,
that.
and things can be
and there's slopes.
Treacherous.
So even if you walk, let's say if you walk on the sidewalks inherently always go from the house to the street. There's a downslope, so water can drain towards the gutter. So if you always walk on the same side of the street, you're always walking on one side high, one side low. In time, that can cause effect on your hip and on
I might
your knee.
have never thought of that until this moment. You're walking one side of your hip because you're going that one direction. It's like, what?
Yeah, and then you may look at it and go, well, it can't be that big of a deal. But if you take a look in West Virginia, where the cows actually sit on the hill and they always face the same way, their legs are actually shorter on the high side of the mountain. So it's something that we can take a look at mechanically, and vice versa. You had mentioned that your husband's getting into running and getting back.
And I worry, someone over 50 saying, I don't want this shirt that said, that showed I finished last in my class because now I'm the nice guy and I have a shirt to prove it. I worry about someone getting into that level, that heavy. But if they'd spent a lifetime being very strong, you're saying that that's not something we should necessarily fear?
No. It's a lot of it is we need to be able to support ourselves. So if we have the muscle strength to support our chassis, so to speak, then it will help us absorb the tensions and pressures we place upon it with our workout, our activity, or our life. The other piece to that is we need to have good mechanics and good equipment. And as long as our mechanics are good and our equipment is good, we have the most chance for success. If our mechanics actually begin to falter, we're going to run into a problem, i.e. the big toe to the headache type of a thing. Even how we train, if our equipment, or if you always run with traffic, it's the same problem. Most streets are bell curved to the gutter. So if you always run with traffic, you're always the same. Left is on the high side, right is on the low side. And so if you always do the same path, you do need to switch it up and make sure that you're changing sides. The joke is so you can equally screw up both sides, but theoretically it kind of maintains a balance.
Spoken like a man who wants to stay in business. I like that. What about bicycles?
Love them. Love them, but there's some inherent issues that go with that. It has to be a very well fitted bicycle, because if the seat is too low, you're putting inadvertent stress on the knees and on the IT band and on the back. A lot of bikes have you hunched over on a regular basis, and you have to tilt your head up to see forward, because seeing is mildly important when you're biking.
A little bit.
And that creates a postural related issue. So after you get off the bike, you need to go in the opposite direction and stretch everything back out to bring you back to neutral. A lot of people don't do that.
And that's something I learned in yoga. A lot of times when you do a position where you're putting stress and strain, you do the counter position the other way. And one of the things, again, because that's the exercise I like that yoga gives you permission to be good to your body, that you listen to your body and you don't push yourself to that next place if you're not ready. There's no pain in it. You don't push until you hurt. If you had someone who was perhaps having some balance issues and talking about stretching, would that be also a sports modality that you would say, yeah, that might be good for?
By all means. I'm a big fan. In fact, a lot of the times, because we are limited on what we're allowed to treat with patients, and we're not cheap, and if you can let your insurance take care of it, it's great, but they limit. I normally will refer either to yoga or Pilates.
So this is good for patients. These are like their own therapy sessions almost, outside of what you do for them.
Right, and hopefully it is to springboard, that we're kind of taking them from their injury and putting them back into an activity, and we're that bridge to get them there. And so a lot of the things that we do on our education, that will hopefully flow through, like core training and such like that. It's core training. It's such a name, and it gets so overused. And
yes, it does.
Basically, it's just being able to create tension within your abdominal muscles to support your pelvis and to support your spine. So that way, things aren't inadvertently dropping off. I had a figure skater who couldn't do a triple. And so, as a junior, and so the mom, who was a local physician, asked if I could take a look. And what we found was that her core was so weak that when she went to go jump and load into the leg before she would jump, the other side of the hip would just drop off. And so all of that energy that she would push through the ground and back up would bleed out into her spine, as opposed to locking out at the pelvis, and then she'd launch. And so it was like trying to pole vault on a rope.
Wow.
It just doesn't go anywhere.
It's nice that you get to know that and the thing about the cows on the hillside. you are very observant in your practice. We're talking with Tom Burton here. He's a physical therapist, 27 years. He's also the orthopedic program manager at Providence Holy Cross in Mission Hills. You're listening to Dr. Proctor. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll do a bit of a wrap-up, talking a bit more about physical therapy and what you can do for yourself. I am T here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. AM 1220 KHTS, hometownstation.com. I am T. I'm here with you on the first and third Thursday of every month with Dr. Proctor. Just a chance for us to peek over the shoulders of the medical community and their support staff, all of the people that help us to be healthier. Today we've been talking with Tom Burton, physical therapist. Again, he's over at Providence Holy Cross Medical Center in Mission Hills. He's the orthopedic program manager there. 27 years of physical therapy. I know we've given us the advice, just move, moderation, those are two things. What about like the number one thing? For example, I know when someone comes to gym, or they come to an exercise class, or they come to physical therapy, do they bring a towel and a bottle of water? Do you find that hydrating is one of the things that help those muscle groups?
It is actually hydration. Trying to keep your fluids up is extremely important. In fact, especially with the hotter weather coming out, and people are going to continue to exercise, you want to make sure that your pee is like a light yellow. If it's not, if it gets too dark, that means you're not getting enough fluids, and water is extremely important for muscle activity.
So we don't want that dark yellow bit of business.
No.
We don't want that.
No.
We'll have none of that, like the KHTS logo. We want that light color. So I thank you for being here today to talk to me a bit about not only giving people permission to come and see you before things get bad. I feel like that's one of the great errors we can make for ourselves or for our loved ones, letting something go until it's like, okay, let's go to the doctor. Going to the physical therapist might be the way to circumvent a whole lot of worse problems. So thanks for that. That was
absolutely.
I appreciate that. Stay here. We're going to do a little bit of business. Again, we're with you every first and third Thursday of the month, and I encourage you to go to our website, hometownstation.com, so you can see past segments, because we want you to be in the best health you can be. I am T here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Tom Burton, thank you for stopping by today.
Thank you very much for having me, T.